Recreating Yourself in 2024, a philosophical guide to unmatched growth and wisdom. Welcome, fellow seekers of self-improvement and a brighter future. As we stand on the precipice of 2024, a new year brimming with potential, a powerful question arises. How many of us truly grasp the depth of self-recreation, that life-altering journey towards becoming the best version of ourselves? This isn't just about superficial changes. It's about a profound transformation from the inside out. Today, we're embarking on a comprehensive exploration of self-recreation, drawing wisdom from Stoic philosophy and other fascinating schools of thought to help you navigate this transformative path in the coming year. Imagine a life where the opinions of others lose their grip on you, where the relentless noise of society fades into a manageable hum. This is the freedom we're chasing. This journey will take you to discover the art of not caring in the right way. We will delve into the philosophy of selfishness and self-love. After that, we will explore the deepest human quests, which is finding your own sense of purpose and meaning. We will conclude by discovering the ancient practice of Stoicism. Get ready to jump into this transformative journey. Let's begin with a cornerstone of personal liberation: the art of not caring. This concept is often misunderstood as apathy or indifference, but its true essence is far more nuanced and liberating. It's not about becoming disconnected from the world, but rather about strategically directing your attention and energy towards what truly matters to you, releasing the anxieties and pressures that drain your vitality. This doesn't mean ignoring others or neglecting your responsibilities, but rather making a conscious decision to prioritize your own well-being and mental space. It's about becoming the center of your own universe, not in a narcissistic way, but in a way that empowers you to live authentically and purposefully. In a world that bombards us with constant demands and expectations, learning to discern what truly deserves our care and what can be released is essential for cultivating inner peace. It is about understanding our limits and choosing what deserves our attention, hard work, and enthusiasm. It's about learning to okay with not knowing what will happen and relishing the present moment with joy. This state of mindful acceptance is the bedrock of true freedom. Furthermore, self-love serves as a cornerstone to a satisfying life. Contrary to popular belief, self-love is not a selfish act. It is a prerequisite for genuinely loving others. How can you offer compassion, understanding, and support to those around you if you are constantly depleted by self-criticism and negativity? Think of it like this. Can a well run on empty truly quench anyone's thirst? Self-love is about recognizing your own inherent worth, flaws, and all. It's about treating yourself with the same kindness, patience, and understanding you would offer a dear friend. It's about setting healthy boundaries, prioritizing your needs, and nurturing your physical, emotional, and mental well-being. The key lies in recognizing your own value as a human being, acknowledging your strengths, and accepting your imperfections. This kind of acceptance allows you to grow personally and to find peace within yourself. Now, equipped with a stronger sense of self-awareness and self-compassion, we turn to another profound human endeavor: finding your purpose. In a world often characterized by chaos and uncertainty, an anchoring purpose acts as a guiding light, helping you navigate life's complexities with clarity and direction. But purpose isn't something to be passively discovered. It's something to be actively created. It's about aligning your passions, values, and skills to create a life that resonates deeply with your authentic self. It's about making a life so full that every breath is a reflection of who you are. This means going beyond superficial goals and seeking something that truly ignites your soul. What are you passionate about? What problems do you want to solve? What legacy do you want to leave behind? These are the questions that will lead you to your unique purpose. Finally, we arrive at the wisdom of Stoicism, an ancient philosophy that remains remarkably relevant in our modern world. Stoicism, at its core, is about cultivating inner peace and resilience in the face of adversity. It's about recognizing what lies within your control, your thoughts, actions and reactions, and accepting what lies outside your control, external events, the actions of others, and the inherent uncertainties of life. The Stoic ideal of the good life is defined by virtue, wisdom, and tranquility, not by fleeting material possessions or external validation. Stoicism teaches us that adversity is not something to be feared, but rather an opportunity for growth and self-discovery. It's about finding strength in the face of challenges, learning from our mistakes, and emerging stronger and more resilient than before. Remember, exercise isn't about changing how you look, but about changing who you are at your heart. It's about finding the gems that are hidden inside you, getting back in touch with your true self, and then sending that energy out into the world. As you embark on this new year, remember that it's not about changing how you look, but about transforming who you are at your core. As you embark on this journey of self-recreation, remember that the goal is not perfection, but progress. It's about embracing the process of growth, celebrating small victories, and learning from setbacks. It's about finding the gems hidden within yourself, reconnecting with your authentic self, and radiating that newfound energy into the world. 2024 presents a clean slate, a blank canvas upon which to paint the masterpiece of your life. The real question is not whether you should change, but whether you are ready to meet your best self. Don't be afraid to jump in. Many of us spend our whole lives worrying about things that may not be as important as we think they are. But what if there was a way to get out of this stuck state away to get through life with less stress and more peace of mind? Today, we're going to learn more about a philosophical approach that could help you live a happier, more fulfilling life. The art of not caring. This approach isn't about ignoring or not caring about other people. It's about putting our care and attention where it matters on things we can control and letting go of the rest. Join me on this journey to discover how to free yourself by learning the art of not caring. To truly understand how to live a more satisfying life, we need to look into the deep connection between philosophy and happiness. Philosophy is the pursuit of knowledge and the love of wisdom. It looks into basic questions about being, reality, information, values, reason, and most importantly for our talk today, happiness. Many philosophers from different times and places have tried to answer the question of what happiness is and how to get it. From old Greek philosophers to modern thinkers, the main goal of philosophical study has always been to find the means of happiness. On the surface, the idea of happiness seems easy and applies to everyone. But when you look closer, you find that it has many aspects and is very personal and complicated. What makes us happy is mainly based on our own experiences, our culture, and what other people expect of us. But the meaning of happiness grows and changes when we look at it through the big picture of philosophy instead of a particular view. Let's talk about the Greeks. One of the most important philosophers of all time, Aristotle, thought that happiness was more than just a feeling or a short-lived state of joy. He came up with the idea of eudaimonia, which is often translated as well-being or the good life. Aristotle believed that happiness consisted of living a life of virtue and wisdom, reaching one's full potential, and making a positive difference in the world. It wasn't about seeking pleasure. It was about making your inner life full. Epicurus, on the other hand, thought that happiness meant seeking pleasure and avoiding pain. Epicurean philosophy, on the other hand, doesn't support selfish excess. Epicurus stressed the easy, natural joys of life, such as peace of mind, friendship, and intellectual activities. These philosophers, like Jeremy Bentham and John Stuart Mill, were utilitarian. They lived in the 17th and 18th centuries during the Age of Enlightenment. They said that happiness is about making as many people as possible happy. This idea formed the base of their moral and ethical standards. Arthur Schopenhauer, a German philosopher who lived in the 1800s, had a less positive view. He thought that life was full of pain and that happiness was just not having to go through pain. Schopenhauer's philosophy says that we should lessen our wants in order to feel less pain and sadness. This changes the way we think about what happiness is. Then there were the existentialists of the 20th century, such as Jean-Paul Sartre and Albert Camus. They thought that life has no meaning by itself, and that it's up to each person to find their own happiness and purpose. They didn't agree with social rules and pushed for sincerity and personal freedom. Also, we can't forget Eastern philosophy practices like Buddhism. Buddhism says that the way to happiness is to let go of desire and attachment, which leads to inner peace and enlightenment. These different philosophical points of view make it clear that happiness isn't an idea that works for everyone. That which we believe, the decisions we make, and how we see the world are all deeply connected to it. To be happy, people follow different beliefs. Some seek virtue, others pleasure, still others freedom, or still others spiritual growth. We will look at how letting go of some worries fits in with these different philosophical views on happiness as we talk about the art of not caring today. The goal is to find a balanced and careful way to care about the things that matter to us, which will lead us to a happy and satisfying life. Remember, philosophy doesn't give us solutions. It helps us figure out what questions to ask. As we learn more about how to not care, let's keep an open mind, question what we think we know, and let these different philosophical ideas help us understand what happiness is. Let's set out on this fascinating journey, learning from the deep insights and a happiness of great philosophers. Now let's talk about Stoicism, an old Greek philosophy which has become famous again recently because it has deep wisdom and useful advice for living a good life. Zeno of Citium started Stoicism in Athens in the early 3rd century BC. However, it was the later Stoic philosophers such as Epictetus, Seneca, and Marcus Aurelius whose ideas have stood the test of time and still speak to us today. Self-discipline, virtue, and reason are important in the ethical philosophy of Stoicism. It shows us that we can't change what happens to us, but we can change how we react to it. Stoicism tells us to focus on what we can control and let go of what we can't. It's a strong way to learn how to not care. This leads us to the Stoic idea of the two kinds of power. Epictetus, a scholar who used to be a slave, wrote beautifully about this idea in his Enchiridion, or Guide. He said, "Some things are within our power, while others are not within our power. Our opinion, motivation, desire, aversion, and, in a word, whatever is of our own doing are within our power. Not within our power are our body, our property, reputation, office, and, in a word, whatever is not of our own doing." This strong contrast tells us to focus our attention, energy, and feelings on the parts of our lives that we can manage and to act like we don't care about the rest. This doesn't mean we should be lazy or ignore our tasks. Instead, it means we should figure out what's really important and deserves our attention and care. It's about deciding not to be upset by the things we can't change in life. This helps us keep our peace of mind and align ourselves with the natural order of the world, which is a central Stoic idea. Stoicism's example of the skill of not caring can be seen in Marcus Aurelius's Meditations. As Roman emperor, Marcus Aurelius had a lot of power and influence, but his works show that he knew that these things are temporary. As he put in writing, very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking. He often stressed the value of inner peace and tranquility over external accomplishments or praise, showing the Stoic way of not caring about things we can't change. In his writings, Seneca, another important Stoic writer, gives more examples of this idea. He taught us not to be overly affected by adversity or overly ecstatic about success, and to stay unaffected by external circumstances. In a message he wrote, "True happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence upon the future, not to amuse ourselves with either hopes or fears, but to rest satisfied with what we have, which is sufficient, for he that is so wants nothing." By following Stoic principles, we learn not to worry about how our lives are changing all the time and instead focus on improving our character, wisdom, and virtue. We learn to be happy with what we have, not caring about what other people do, and at peace with the world, not caring about anything. Not caring in the Stoic sense is not the same thing as being indifferent to it. Instead, it means knowing where to focus our care and attention for a happy and peaceful life. From a Stoic school of thought, We now go to Epicurus's garden. Epicurus, a Greek philosopher from antiquity who established the Epicureanism school of philosophy, has another viewpoint on the art of not caring. Despite what many people think, Epicureanism is not about enjoying physical joys or living a fancy life. It's about living a life of tranquility, freedom, and friendship, not about knowing the nature of pleasure and desire. Epicurus said that joy is the best thing in the world and the point of life, but he also said that not all pleasures are worth seeking. He made a distinction between kinetic pleasures, which come from gratifying a desire, and katastatic pleasures, which come from a state of contentment when we are not experiencing pain or desires. Epicurus said that the best life is one in which we can stay in a state of katastatic happiness and enjoy the simple things in life without being pushed by desires all the time. What Epicureanism says about social standards and material wants is an important part of the art of not caring. Epicurus wanted people to live a simple life away from the busy life of Athens. He thought that a lot of our wants, like wanting money, fame, or power, come from what other people expect of us and aren't normal or important. Epicurus said that these wants often cause more harm than good because they are never-ending and keep us wanting more. Epicurus famously said, "If you want to make a man happy, don't add to his riches. Take away from his desires." Epicurus's ideas about fear, especially the fear of death, are also very interesting. He said, "Death doesn't matter to us because death doesn't exist when we don't, and we don't exist when death does." Epicurus says that we shouldn't be afraid of death because it's a necessary part of life. This way, we can live more freely and happily in the present. So how do these ideas make your life better? We can achieve a state of contentment and inner peace by knowing the nature of our desires, telling them apart from those that aren't important, and learning how to control them well. By choosing not to care about what other people think or the fear of death, we free ourselves from worries and stresses that aren't necessary. This makes room for real joy and tranquility. Epicureanism teaches us that happiness doesn't come from having things or being important, but from being at peace inside, without any pain or trouble. The philosophy teaches us to enjoy the easy things in life, like friendship, thought, and not having to worry about what other people want or fear. It also teaches us how to not care about other people. The Epicurean way of life tells us to rethink our wants and values, to let go of social expectations and pointless fears, and to enjoy life's simple, long-lasting pleasures. Let's keep these ideas from Epicurus with us as we go on our trip. Let's value the part that pleasure and desire play in our lives, and stop worrying about things that don't make us happy in the long run. As we continue our philosophical study of the art of not caring, we visit Denmark in the 1800s and meet Søren Kierkegaard, who is generally seen as the founder of existentialism. Unlike the other philosophers we've talked about so far, Kierkegaard lived in a very different time and culture. Kierkegaard's existential philosophy is all about the person, their feelings, their freedom, their choices, and their subjective life. He thought that everyone has their own idea of what is true, and that everyone has to figure out how to live their own life on their own. His works give us a deep look into the mind of a person by exploring worry, hopelessness, and the search for meaning. The leap of faith in the face of life's riddles and unknowns is one of Kierkegaard's most well-known ideas. In order to find purpose and get over depression, according to Kierkegaard, one must take a leap of faith into religion. While the phrase leap of faith is often used in religious contexts, especially in Kierkegaard's works, the idea behind it goes beyond religion. It's about embracing ambiguity and having the guts to make choices without knowing exactly how things will turn out. Fear and worry that we feel every day come from not knowing what will happen. We worry about what might happen in the future and find it hard to make choices when we can't see what will happen. What if, though, we decide not to care about this chance? What if we take that leap of faith, know that we don't know what will happen, and make our decisions with guts and conviction? Kierkegaard said, "Life can only be understood backwards, but it must be lived forwards." This quote fits with what we're talking about because it reminds us that we can learn from our mistakes and gain wisdom from them, but we can't know or control what will happen in the future. So, deciding not to worry about what might happen in the future doesn't mean you're careless or don't care what happens. Instead, it's about getting rid of our crippling fear of the unknown so that we can fully live in the moment and do what we believe is right. By freeing us from the weight of worry and fear, Kierkegaard's leap of faith could lead us to greater happiness. When we stop worrying too much about what might happen, we can focus on the here and now and do things that are in line with our values. We free ourselves to live an honest life without being constantly worried about what might happen in the future. When we do this, Kierkegaard's psychological philosophy makes us think deeply about our own lives, our worries, and our freedom. His idea of the leap of faith gives us a way to deal with the unknowns in life, not by trying to guess or control the future, but by embracing these unknowns with confidence and focusing on who we really are. We should be brave and care less about the things we can't change in life and more about living fully and honestly in the present. From the busy streets of Denmark in the 1800s, our intellectual journey takes us to ancient India, where Siddhartha Gautama, better known as the Buddha, created Buddhism, a deep philosophy and way to spiritual awakening. Buddhism is a non-theistic religion that has a special view on happiness, pain, detachment, and how to stop worrying about things that are temporary and will not last. Buddhism has a different idea of what happiness is than many Western schools of thought. Buddhism doesn't think of happiness as pleasure or getting what you want. Instead, it sees real happiness as a deep, long-lasting state of well-being and contentment that comes from inner peace and wisdom. This happiness isn't affected by outside factors, and anyone can get it by being aware, acting in an honest way, and knowing how reality works. The Four Noble Truths are very important to Buddhism. They explain what pain is, why it happens, how to stop it, and the way to do that. According to what the Buddha taught, pain comes from tanha, which means a strong desire for something other or more than what is. We want these things because we don't know that reality is really made up of changeable things. Dissatisfaction and not self lead us to the Buddhist ideals of detachment and non-attachment, which are very important for knowing how to not care from a Buddhist point of view. In Buddhism, detachment doesn't mean ignoring or avoiding life's events. Instead, it means having a deep knowledge of an acceptance of the fact that everything changes. It means letting go of people, things, events, and even ideas because you know they can change and disappear. Not being attached to things, events, or ideas is the same thing as being detached. It means not having to hold on to them all the time. We can fully experience life as it happens when we practice non-attachment. We can feel joy, sadness, happiness, and pain without being controlled by these fleeting emotions. We learn to really care about life without being tied down by it. We're not rejecting or devaluing things that change or disappear when we don't care about them. Instead, we're learning to connect to them in a better way, fully feeling and enjoying them while they last, but not suffering when they change or disappear. When you apply this way of thinking to your life, you can find deep peace and happiness inside it. It helps us enjoy the beauty of the seasons without getting caught up in the storm of desire, dislike, or fantasy. It's said that you only lose what you cling to. This simple but profound saying sums up the core of Buddhist attachment and non-attachment. It tells us to let go and stop worrying too much about things that are temporary and hard to understand. By doing this, we remove ourselves from a lot of the pain we cause ourselves and make room for a deeper, longer-lasting kind of happiness. Buddhist teachings, which go deep into the nature of reality and the mind, can help you learn how to not care. We can learn to live a more peaceful, clear, and free life by learning and applying the ideas of detachment and non-attachment. Let us remember the Buddha's wisdom as we continue our search. Remember that everything can change, and that if we don't hold on to things that are temporary, we can find inner peace and happiness that lasts. In the end, isn't that what we all want? We are now back in Europe, this time in Germany in the late 1800s, where we meet Friedrich Nietzsche, one of the most important and controversial philosophers of all time. Friedrich Nietzsche gave us a strong way to look at the art of not caring. He was famous for his attacks on traditional morals and his philosophy of life affirmation. Nietzsche's philosophy is based on the idea of life reinforcement, which he thought was the best thing about being human. Nietzsche said that to support life is to accept it as it is, with all of its problems, doubts, and conflicts. It involves accepting life with a sense of joy, wonder, and imagination rather than in a passive or resigned manner. It's easy to see how Nietzsche's ideas about social rules and the art of not caring fit in with this philosophy of life affirmation. Nietzsche thought that traditional morals and social rules often keep people from living fully and honestly. He didn't like the idea of group morals, which says that good and bad are the same for everyone. Nietzsche thought that not caring about social rules and standard morals wasn't the same as being indifferent or apathetic. He thought that it was about self-overcoming, which is the process of going beyond conditioned behaviors and beliefs to find your own values. When we don't care about what other people think of us, we can start to question, criticize, and finally get rid of these ideas. This lets us write our own moral code and decide for ourselves what is important, useful, and satisfying. This is where the idea of the Übermensch, which is also known as the Overman or Superman, comes up. This idea is Nietzsche's idea of the perfect person, someone who has gotten over themselves, found their values, and accepted life in all its complexity. The Übermensch is the idea that you don't have to care about traditional morality. Instead, you should enjoy life with all of its chaos and confusion and make your own morals. And thus spoke Zarathustra. Nietzsche said, I teach you the Übermensch. Man is something that shall be overcome. What have you done to overcome him? These strong words are a call to action. They make us think, question, and make things. They tell us that we can get through hard times and become the people we really are. In our quest to learn how to not care, what does Nietzsche's philosophy have to offer? It makes us think about how we relate to social rules and traditional morals. As a result, it tells us not to let these outside standards limit who we are, but to instead set our own values and accept life as it is. Let's keep Nietzsche's strong ideas in mind as we continue our research. Let's work on getting over ourselves, be brave enough to make our own standards, and learn to accept life as it is. We've dug deeply into the theoretical realms of the art of not caring as we've traveled through the rich fabric of philosophy, from Stoicism to Buddhism, Nietzsche to Sartre and Camus, etc. Let's put this academic wisdom into practice now. How can these intellectual lessons help us in our everyday lives, in the real world? What steps can we take? The first thing we need to do is figure out what we really care about. Think about the Stoic concept of the two types of control. Sort the things in your life that you can control from the things that you can't. The key is to focus on the things we can change, like our thoughts, feelings, and deeds, and learn to let go of the things we can't. You can feel a lot less stress by doing this simple thing. This will make room for more joy, freedom, and satisfaction. The second thing we want to talk about is embracing doubt. Life is full of doubts, as Kierkegaard taught us, and trying to control or predict everything is not only pointless, but can also lead to contentment. We can get rid of the fear and worry that come with the unknown by embracing uncertainty and taking that leap of faith. It becomes clear to us that doubt is a chance for growth and change. In the third step, you have to face social standards. We learned from Epicurus, Nietzsche, and existentialism that social rules and standards can make it hard to be ourselves and be happy. Think about the stresses in your own life. Do they match your values and goals, or do they make you feel like you can't be yourself? Not caring about these social standards doesn't mean you're ignoring your duties or not caring about anything. Instead, it's about getting back your freedom to choose your own path, set your own ideals, and make your own character. The fourth step tells us to accept that life is silly. We can recognize the underlying folly and accept it by drawing on Camus' wisdom. Instead of looking for meaning or approval from other people, focus on making your own meaning. This could happen through your hobbies, your job, your relationships, or your own growth. Find joy in the journey. In your final battle, our journey can be helped by these steps, but following them isn't always easy. It takes patience, courage, and self-compassion to go on this journey for a lifetime. Moments of uncertainty, fear, or misunderstanding may occur. Don't forget that it's okay to feel these things. They're normal for people. You should not fight them. Instead, you should recognize them, learn from them, and let them lead you. Now, you might be thinking what I can do right now to use these ideas. Mindfulness can help you a lot on this path. To be mindful, you have to be fully present and pay attention to the present moment without judging it. It lets us see our feelings, thoughts, and sensations for what they are without getting caught up in them. Take a few moments every day to sit in silence as a simple relaxation method. Pay attention to your breath and how it feels as air comes in and out of your body. Bring your mind back to your breath slowly if it wanders. You can develop a sense of present acceptance and non-attachment through this practice. These are all important skills for learning how to not care. Remember that not caring does not mean not caring about or neglecting. It's about figuring out what's important, embracing life's uncertainties and nonsense, and finding your own spirit despite what other people think you should be doing. We need to be brave, kind to ourselves, and ready to accept the whole of what it means to be human on this trip, not the end goal. Now that this look at the art of not caring is over, let's take a moment to think and maybe set the stage for what comes next. We've been on an interesting trip through time, from the Stoic masters of ancient Rome to the existentialist thinkers of the 20th century, looking at how these philosophical schools have thought about the idea of not caring. We've looked at the Stoic principle of the split of control, and we've learned that the key to tranquility and happiness lies in figuring out what we can control from what we can't and putting our attention and energy there. We learn a lot about Epicurean philosophy by looking at what Epicurus said about happiness, desire, and how important it is to not care about what other people think. We put a lot of faith in Kierkegaard, embracing the inevitable uncertainties of life and realizing that not caring about some results can make us happier people. We learned a lot about Eastern philosophy and how the Buddhist ideas of separation and non-attachment can help us let go of things that don't last, which can lead to peace and happiness inside. Nietzsche pushed us to question social norms and taught us, through his philosophy about valuing life, how important it is to not care about following these norms on our way to overcoming ourselves. Sartre and Camus in particular were existentialist philosophers who stressed how silly life is and told us to take responsibility for our own lives, saying that not thinking about how silly life is can lead to personal freedom. In the last part, we talked about how to use these intellectual ideas in everyday life. We talked about how to figure out what's important to us, how to deal with confusion, how to go against what society expects of us, and how to accept the ridiculousness of life. We also talked about some problems that might come up along the way and a simple awareness method that can help you become more present, accepting, and non-attached. However, this discovery is just the start of your trip. The skill of not caring is not a place you can get to, but a way of life that you can follow. It takes self-compassion, patience, and bravery. Remember to apply these philosophical ideas to your own life as you continue to learn more, figure out what means most to you, and let go of what doesn't serve your greatest good. The most important things in life are the lessons we learn, the new ideas we have, and the people we meet. So go out and learn how to not care about things in your life. See what changes it makes, what freedom it gives you, and what happiness it brings you. Be aware that the path to not caring is not about becoming apathetic or careless. It's about embracing who you are, recovering your freedom, and making your own way. It's about finding your own soul in the midst of societal standards, uncertainty, and the fact that life is just plain silly at some point. Have you ever felt bad about taking the day off, eating your favorite food, or taking a little extra time to care for yourself? Or maybe people have told you you're selfish for putting your own needs first. Now it's time to talk about these feelings and look into the interesting place where self-love and what some might call selfishness meet. We'll take a deep look into the thoughts of some of the most important philosophers and psychologists of all time in this video. These are thinkers who have been brave enough to question the status quo and shed new light on how self-love and selfishness affect our lives. Friedrich Nietzsche, Carl Rogers, Abraham Maslow, Aristotle, Ayn Rand, Jean-Paul Sartre, Buddha, and era from all had ideas that changed the world. We will find the secret wisdom in what they taught and use what we learned to improve our own lives. Self-love and selfishness are always being sent mixed messages by the world around us. On the one hand, we're told to be kind and selfless, to put others before ourselves, though we are told it's okay to love ourselves and that our own wants should come first. When we get these mixed messages, we might feel lost and guilty, not sure how to find a right balance. You can use what we're talking about today in your personal and business life because of this. To live happier, more peaceful lives, we need to learn more about self-love and selfishness. We can learn to enjoy ourselves with all of our flaws and strengths by setting limits and making time for ourselves. We don't have to feel bad about doing this or worry about being seen as selfish. I used to have a hard time with these very ideas. I would sometimes skip rest, fun, and even health just to keep from being seen as selfish. I would do anything to help other people, even if it meant putting my own health at risk. I didn't understand how important self-love and a certain kind of selfishness are until I started studying philosophy and psychology. These lessons not only changed my personal life, but they also had a big effect on my work life, making me happier and more successful. Therefore, I think this series has something useful to offer you, whether you're here out of interest, in search of personal growth, or to learn things that will help you succeed at work. We'll work together to dispel common myths, see things from different angles, and start a trip to learn more about ourselves and our place in the world. Self-love is more than just going to the spa or eating out at a nice restaurant, though those things could be a part of it. In fact, self-love is a much deeper and more meaningful idea. It's about accepting ourselves fully, flaws and all. It's about recognizing our own worth and being kind and respectful to ourselves. Self-love isn't about being perfect. It's about being okay with how you are. It's about realizing that we're not perfect and that it's okay to mess up. It means showing ourselves the same kindness, understanding, and patience that we show to other people. It's not vain or cocky to love yourself. It means recognizing our humanity, our unique mix of strengths and flaws, and appreciating ourselves just the way we are. You can love yourself by taking care of your physical, social, and mental health. It's about setting limits, taking care of ourselves, following our hobbies, and putting our needs first. It's about taking care of our bodies, keeping our heads active, and keeping our souls healthy. It has nothing to do with selfishness, right? The word selfishness usually has a bad meaning, which gets us to our next word. Most of the time, it's used to describe someone who puts their own needs ahead of others, even if it means hurting them or ignoring their needs. But there is more than one side to this story, as there are to many ideas. When we talk about selfishness in this situation, we're not talking about this harmful, careless behavior. To be more specific, we're talking about a better, healthy kind of selfishness in which we make choices that are good for our own well-being, even if they don't always go along with what other people want. This is the kind of selfishness that lets us say no when we're too busy, follow our dreams even if they go against social rules, and put ourselves first even if it seems like a luxury. It's a form of selfishness where we recognize that our own wants are just as important as those of others. Some people think that self-love and selfishness have a confusing relationship, but they really do, so we have to be a little selfish if we want to really love ourselves. We have to be ready to put our own needs first, set limits, and make decisions that are good for our health. And in order to be positively greedy, we must first see how valuable we are, which means we must love ourselves. Self-love and a good amount of selfishness are like two sides of the same coin. They are both important for our personal growth and happiness. We are able to handle life with resilience, assurance, and inner peace because of the dynamic interaction between self-love and selfishness. But how did these kinds of ideas come about? Where do they fit in the big picture of philosophy and psychological thought? And how have they changed over time? As we watch this video, we'll look into these and other questions, looking at them from the interesting points of view of different philosophers and psychologists, and finding the deep insights they offer. Remember that this is not meant to promote selfishness in the bad sense, where people don't care about others and hurt them. We want to show you how to have a healthy, balanced sense of self where you can stand up for your needs, know how valuable you are, and still care about and respect the people around you.